is the web forms view engine. We flex web forms to show data. It doesn't matter. This is one of the points of power of MVC is that your choice of view engine doesn't matter for your application. You can have anything. You can swap it out whenever you want. We pass in, we tell it you're going to be working with this typed data here. In this case, it's the notion of a dinner. To access this type of up here that's passed in, you simply have to say model dot, and up pops all your IntelliSense, which is groovy. All right, well, I'm going to leave this page exactly as it is. I'm going to hit F5 again, and up pops our site. And now I'm going to type in dinner, and I'm going to hit edit. Great, there we are. All my information. So I can change this. Bob's Happy Hour Party, and good. Okay, we'll hit save, and you can see it's been changed. So the same thing happens here if I enter gobbledygook information. We're using the same model binders, and edit was unsuccessful. Please correct this. The validation doesn't work. So that's awesome. Okay, what is it that we just did? And the term is called scaffolding. I'm sure you've heard it before. It's been used a lot for forms over data approaches or data entry. But what it really is a way for you to start from a standpoint of already having kind of core data interactions, but improving as you go on. So what I mean by that is if you look back now, I'm going to start this application again. If you look back here at our main dinner page, and we keep adding data, you'll notice what we're going to end up with is a long list of dinners. Well, if we take a look back at the NerdDinner site, and I'll bring this over here, what you'll notice is we have the exact same thing, except it looks a lot prettier. So this page right here can be considered to be dinner/index. In fact, this is the RESTful approach I was talking about. And if you are an administrator, then maybe a link might show up right down here that says Edit Me. And if you clicked on Edit Me, well, then maybe you'd kind of head over to this page here. This page can be as ugly as it wants. It's an administration screen. And it can even have this URL. So anyway, that's the point of kind of scaffolding. It kind of puts you ahead a little bit. You can work with data. You can get data in. Then all you got to do is change and tweak, add some CSS, and you're off to go. Okay, but we have a little problem here, and that is notice that if this is dinner index, well, notice this URL is the default URL. Let's fix that right now. And so what I want to do is I'm going to close down this, and I'm going to introduce routing. What is routing? You've heard me talk about routing. Well, let's dive into that. Well, I have my dinner controller, and I want this controller to be the default controller of the site. In fact, I don't have much use for this home controller here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of it. And so rather than delete it, I'm going to play it on the safe side, and I'm going to just exclude it from the project. Kind of makes it invisible. And if I use this little button up here, which Hanselman calls the Don't Lie to Me button, I can see my controller and my directory down here, and I can right-click and include them if I want to, but I don't want to. I don't want them in the project. Okay. So that's easy enough to do, and what I need to do as well is come down here and kick out those tests too, and I'll talk more about tests in a little bit. So what I need to do is I need to rejigger my routes. I want dinners to be kind of the root core of the site. So I'm going to come in here to Global ASAX, and I'm going to take this opportunity to start discussing routing and what it is. First and foremost, routing is the thing that I mentioned before. Routing is the thing that listens for URLs, and it routes those URLs to a controller and an action. So if a URL comes in such like dinner/edit/5, well, routing's going to listen for that, and it's going to say, well, how can I find the controller that maps to this? Well, dinner edit 5. If we come over here to routing, controller action ID. So where's the dinner controller? What action am I looking for? Edit. The ID is 5. Well, there's lots of freedom to this. In fact, if I wanted to, and I wanted to put in the year, I could have a year argument in here, and I could have it look something like that. That would be like 2009. The action could be monkey, and I could end up with the URL I discussed in the PowerPoint. So I'm going to leave this as a default route. I will be adding routes as we go along here, and you can see me do that. But right off the bat, you can see that the default that's in here is the home controller, and I don't want it to go to the home controller. I want it to go to the dinner controller, because the dinner controller now is my home controller. So if I run the site now, and instead of coming up and having the home action or the home index action show up, now we have the dinner action. This is the power of routing. And so this is, again, at the core of the RESTful approach. I could, if I wanted to, I could change the information around and have something else show up in this URL. I can decorate this URL any way I want to. It's a very, very powerful feature. My dinner controller is almost completely scaffolded here. I have the C and the R and the U, create, read, update, but I don't have the delete. So I've added that in, and I've popped it down here at the bottom here. And one thing worth noting, as you can see here with my delete action, is I have made sure that it is a post. You want to make sure that when you have any data operations, such as edit and create up here, that you mark those as post. If you don't, then you can open your site up to what's known as cross-site request forgery. This can even happen if you have this nailed down with authorization. You're opening up to URL injection attacks and so on. So one thing to always do is to make sure you accept post. Now what I should also do here is I should also have the authorize attribute. This works with form validation and basically locks down this action so that if the user is unknown, well, then they're going to be redirected off. Now you can also restrict by roles. You come here and say roles equal, and I could say something like administrator. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that today. Instead, I'm going to just show you really quickly how to add a delete functionality to your site. What I want to do is head over here to the edit view, and we'll open that up. And what I want to do is I want to be able to delete a record from the edit page, so I'll make them look at it first. So what I want to do is introduce you really quickly to the HTML helpers, and specifically the one I'm going to be working with right now is creating a form. So to create a form with ASP.NET MVC, it's pretty simple. You use this notation here. This is a using block, a C# using block that creates an opening tag above, right here, and down below creates a closing tag. So I'm going to create my own form right here, and I'm just going to copy and paste, being lazy. I'll line those up a little bit better. There we go. Next, I need a submit tag to submit that form, and I'm going to rename this delete. Good. Finally, what I need is a hidden input, because the dinner controller delete action expects an ID. So I got to pass that in. And so if I come back to the edit page here, I'm going to simply use the HTML helpers, HTML hidden, and I'll call this ID, and I'll pass in the model.dinnerID. All right, good to go. Well, that's almost done. The last thing I need to do is I need to tell the form where it's going to submit. Now, if I leave it empty like this, it will submit back to its own URL. It'll go to the edit action on the dinner controller. I don't want that. What I want instead is I want it to go to the delete action on the dinner controller. So I have to specify both those things. Now notice here, the name of the controller is dinner. Dinner controller, even though its class name is dinner controller, it should be noted as dinner. All right, well, that's easy now. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit F5, and I'm going to come in here and create some bogus data. All right, that looks like a pretty good bogus amount of data. Hit create, and there we have a bogus record. Whoops, let's get rid of that. I'll hit edit, come back down here, hit delete, and it's gone. So good, now we have delete. And what I should do right now that I know that it works is to close this thing down and come back here and put in authorize. There we go. Okay, quite happy now. All right, well, that's how you can kind of work with some of the HTML helpers. And what I want to do right now is I need to keep on refactoring, and I need to unhinge link to SQL from my controller here.